What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be discussing, did I overreact, or did my critique in my last video kind of become a little bit too harsh? Do I need to take a step back and understand what is going on in the world of Ashes of Creation? After all, this is an Alpha 2 test. And sometimes I think when we're passionate or we're really truly enjoying something, we get a little bit muddied in the waters with our feedback or our expectations. So is that occurring in Ashes currently? Is that occurring with myself in particular? Let's get into it. I'm going to start today's video where we left off in the last video. So my last video was talking about an instance that occurred during testing, and it kind of overshadowed all the cool, good things that happened for the reason behind it just being, ultimately toxic or, less than perfect kind of an experience. And I think as week 5 is approaching today on us, it is important that we as testers, we as enthusiasts of the project, we as gamers, sometimes step back and see what we are saying or the critiques that we're giving, and we understand where it's coming from and understand that there is also some good. Now, you might be asking, well, why are you kind of walking back what you said in your last video? And that's not entirely true. What I want to say is my last video was very spot on with the feedback on the concern, and it shouldn't be in the game. However, it overshadowing all the good and cool things that happened during last week's testing shouldn't have been the entire focal point, I think, of the entire video. So what I want to do is I want to, talk about last video, talk about testing, and talk about expectations. I think with week 5 coming up, my expectations are about the same as they have been. There always has been increased server stability and performance and scalability. So I think my expectations on the servers is that they should remain about the same, give or take, a few hiccups here and there. I know we did get new bugs introduced and new hiccups here and there with our last update. So, I fully expect them to have taken care of those bugs, but also, potentially added in new bugs. That's just the nature of development, guys. That's the whole purpose of testing. What I think we're going to talk about, like I said, is we're not going to be dwelling on some of the negatives in today's video. What we're going to deal with is what do we see coming as a positive. And I think two of the biggest positive things that have happened so far in Ashes of Creation is one around the current server or the community, if you will, and 2 is around Intrepid and their willingness to understand things and take feedback and are quick to iterate on some hot fixes. So what do I mean by the community and the server? Well, our guild and our alliance, we are currently on Lyneth's server, and that is an NA server that is pretty popular with a lot of streamers, right? Narc is there, Nice is there, Pirate Software, Asmongold, S-Fan. These are some heavy hitters in the world of streaming. Some of them in the world of, MMORPGs, and some are, quote-unquote Ashes of Creation royalty. So you would think that right off the bat that the server would, not be a very friendly or inclusive, inviting place, but it is quite the opposite, I think, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. If you want a real good take on it, I would suggest going and checking out Narc's video. I might, tag it somewhere here in the video or in the video description. I think he did a very good job on his latest video explaining the community in the Lineth server. I think our server is a little bit different because we are all working together and trying to achieve common goals. And I think that part of the social aspect of an MMO has always been missing in the latest iterations of our games that we see. So it's quite refreshing and quite honestly awesome to see that people are, interacting, not only making, random groups or interacting with each other with trade and diplomacy and tactics and things like that, but it is also on a larger scale, right? A lot of guild leaders are working cooperatively within cities, within other nodes, and the mayors are all working cooperatively too from all the different nodes. I think a lot of other servers are not having this occur for various reasons, potentially. I know I've gone on a couple of different servers here and there, and the experience has not felt the same. Now, I will say that there are going to be folks, and there are times where you're like, oh, the streamer server, or oh, the super popular server with all these big names, that sometimes can have an effect on the game experience. But I think overall the experience has been positive, in my opinion. Dealing with some of these bigger guilds or some of these bigger names. I've not ran into Narc or Nice or Pirate or Asmon or Esfand. None of them. I haven't seen any of them in game yet. I know they are in my server. I've seen parts of their guilds, members of their guilds. And it's kind of hard to miss Pirate Software, 1,700 guilds that are around. But, I just, again, I look at it from the aspect of I haven't run into any of the big names of these groups. So that's just to give you the size and scope of Alpha 2 testing right now, right? It's hard to run into some of these big names. Yes, you'll run into their guilds, but I don't think you're running into the actual people that you would think you're running into. And another thing is that some of these groups, like, I'll highlight Pirates, their player base is so vast that it is, helping with testing, I think, and the purpose of this particular phase of testing. Now, it's not, I'm not going to spend the whole video just, giving praise to all these other guilds and all these other streamers and things like that. I just want to highlight a few key points on the Lineth server, right? And I think that's where we are with some of this stuff. And I think it causes for really cool game loops and really just cool experiences. There's been times where I've been soloing or, we've been duoing in an area and there's a whole bunch of other people there and we're just like, hey, you guys want to group up? You want to, join forces so we're not pulling on top of each other, this, that, and the other. And the 9 out of 10 times, people are like, yeah, let's go. We got room. How many do you have? Oh, we have 7. We can only have 1. They don't want to make a raid due to XP lost and things like that. So there is social gameplay taking place within Ashes, and I think that is a huge value and a huge thing in today's world of MMORPGs. That's a huge thing that's missing. The other topic that I want to say is a highlight is Intrepid. Now, I will say I was skeptical of Intrepid taking feedback or taking some critiques just based off of, community sentiment sometimes, or going through the forum, looking at comments, some content creators, things like that. I was a little bit skeptical that Intrepid was not going to take constructive feedback well. I'm happy to say that so far, I think I've been proven wrong on that thought process early on here in Alpha 2, right? I feel like all of our bug reports, our feedback, maybe even, all these videos that I'm making or people are making, I think feedback that they're getting, they are iterating upon and trying to fix. And I think a good example of that is last weekend when they did their patching and updating, they introduced a new bug where you were able to dupe items in your inventory. And this spread like wildfire. It ran rampant the weekend. And I think it overshadowed a lot of things for people, much like the PvP situation overshadowed. The only thing is it was not being vastly talked about. Now, I will say that is a double-edged sword, right? I like that this dupe and this exploit was not vastly talked about because it didn't get mainstream past certain probably groups or certain select groups of players. But it also was that it wasn't talked about, so it might have not been addressed quick enough due to it not being found quick enough by folks who were not exploiting the bug and not duping, and actually were testing and reporting that this was happening. So, obviously Intrepid, that's a huge game-breaking type of bug that is occurring. Intrepid, I think, did great in handling this. They patched it a couple of days ago, at least in the patch notes they said they have. And they also, Steven made a comment on the Discord and posted, a little bit of background about, why the bug happened, why it should be reported, and why, you're hurting the game more than helping the game by exploiting these types of bugs. And ultimately, it sounds like there are accounts or characters that were deleted due to persistent exploiting of this dupe. Not only did I think some characters get deleted, I know that they've wiped all of these duped items out of people's inventories. If you use these items to create other items, those items have been removed from your inventory. Your gold has been wiped to 0 in some cases because you duped so much stuff and you sold it and you made, tons of money. Nodes are being affected by this as well. So any node that had a building created with these duped materials, it sounds like there are going to be emergency mayoral elections. So I'm interested to get in today's testing, this week's testing, to see if my node of Halcyon is affected. Because I feel like our node, compared with the other nodes, has been working very well together, and the player base in the server itself seems to be very very well off and reporting things and not taking advantage of things. So I'm curious to see, again, it could have happened, right? I don't doubt that there are nodes that were affected by this and they had no idea, right? I'm sure the mayors had no idea why things were going so well. They might have had a inkling of it, but when they're getting all these materials and things so much faster than normal, but they might have not known that it was due to a dupe. So I think Intrepid handled that overall quite well. They patched it within less than a week. They took care of all the items that were in the economy in game. And they took care of the bad actors who would have benefited from the economy breaking side of it, where they sold items for gold and are super rich now. And they took care of the people who exploited this bug by, deleting their character, deleting their gold, or all of the above, right? So I think Intrepid is doing well. They're quick on updates as well. And that's another key thing, I think, for us in testing, is when there is a huge thing found, or bugs, or things that need to be fixed, they are working quickly to address these items and these things and hopefully getting them done within a week. We know that next week is week 6 of Alpha 2 testing, and that means that we should be getting our first major patch update with content. And that is going to be huge because Steven has teased this already a little bit in a Discord post with some lighting changes, some effects changes occurring in the Citadel of Steel Bloom. So from what I saw in the screenshots, it looks dramatically different than what it is currently in game. So if their week 6 update is all of the polish or some of the polish that needs to be done in some of these areas or some of these POIs, if they have that polish completed to a nice state, to maybe a showcase state, and they feel confident that they can bring that type of asset into the game and bring the server stability to the same level that it currently is, that's looking good for us long term, I think, right? If they can put a POI or multiple POIs within the world that look like they were in the showcases, and server stability and performance stays the same, then I think we are starting to get ahead of the curve a little bit, or we're right on track with the way that testing is supposed to be going. The one critique that I do have is we still have this very strange view distance that is occurring where, mobs, players, assets, trees, buildings don't come into view until you're almost right on top of them in certain cases. So I'm hoping that Intrepid might have addressed that this week. If not, I'm going to keep giving that feedback at the end of this week. Testing to say, hey, listen, this view distance issue that somehow has occurred from, a couple of weeks ago that wasn't here the first 2-3 weeks of launch is still needs to get addressed. Let's get on the ball with this and let's address that. That's a lower item priority, I think. I think a duping glitch and things like that are taking precedent over some of this other stuff. So I don't think that they've forgotten about it. It's just probably on the back burner. As always, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's videos. If you found some value, you liked, you didn't like something, go ahead, drop it in the comments. How's your experience been during testing? If you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel. Over 70% of you are returning viewers that are not subscribed. I would appreciate you guys subscribing. It's completely free to hit that button, and it just helps the channel grow and get recognized a little bit more. And, it is inspiring to help keep bringing out content for you guys. Other than that, I think I'm going to leave it here for now. There are going to be a few other videos coming from this week's testing. I'm very excited. My overall experience within Alpha 2 has been above expectations, I think, if I was to just generally categorize my feelings right now. I think testing is going very well. I think the game mechanics, the base structure of certain systems within the game are very good. The ultimate saving grace, which I think a lot of people will agree on me with, is combat. Combat, I think, is what's really holding this Alpha 2 testing up right now through some of these game-breaking bugs or, other types of mechanics that are occurring or missing. So I am very interested to see the Week 6 updates and Phase 2 come online here shortly, so that way we can see what's going on within the world of Vera even more. So, as always, guys, I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.